There's been a lot of debate on the internet as to whether convicted child abuser Paul Ferguson has autism. A public supporter, Randy Myram, who is the father of an autistic son, has been adamant that Paul has been misunderstood and misdiagnosed even by professionals. Paul's pen pal supporters have also embraced this idea. And while I could give a whole speech on autism, being on the spectrum myself, especially when it comes to autistic empathy and sensitivity, I'd rather speak on a condition that Paul was actually diagnosed with and why it matters. According to Paul, he was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder as a child. Since we know that Shonda was a particularly unloving parent, this diagnosis is not surprising. RAD is caused by neglect in infancy, specifically an inattentive, unloving, or largely absent primary caregiver. Many of us became familiar with RAD when television programs highlighted the orphans of Romania who were left to languish alone in their cribs, often with propped bottles and with nurses who rarely held them. Doing a deep dive into the condition, I learned that RAD shares some traits with autism, like a lack of impulse control, a different way of speaking, a lack of awareness of cause and effect, poor social skills, detachment, etc. But RAD is very distinct from autism and does not turn into autism. Children with RAD or RAD may grow up without a conscience, and as adults they may feel so disconnected that they are unable to form genuine attachments, meaning that they can't feel love, only mimic love. They are manipulative and often feel a sense of entitlement. They may form inappropriate attachments and be controlling. They are quick to anger, act out of proportion to stressors, and may be diagnosed as psychopaths or sociopaths as adults. RAD and other attachment disorders aren't diagnosed or even recognized in adulthood, so those who grew up without receiving necessary treatment may end up being treated for a myriad of other conditions, including sociopathy, disassociation, depression, social difficulties, and relationship issues. And yes, some may even be misdiagnosed with autism. During Paul's trial, we learned that he was actually diagnosed with conduct disorder and antisocial personality disorder. All of this is not to excuse Paul's actions, but I've always been interested in what makes a person tick, what turns a person into a monster. Paul and his mother are both incredibly disconnected. Having read and listened to everything about Timothy's murder many times over, I am still struck by the lack of real emotion from both Paul and Shonda in Timothy's final months, or on the day he died, or during the trial, or at any time in between. There have been no tears shed. And the interesting thing is that many untreated RAD children will grow up to raise children with RAD because of an inability to genuinely connect, to feel empathy, or to form a genuine loving bond. I wonder if this is what's really behind this murderous mother-son duo. Again, not to excuse them or feel sorry for them. I don't, and I believe they are right where they belong, but as a way of understanding how any human being could torture another for so long, yet somehow be surprised when they finally die.